How many corners of a trail? Africa?
Bro.
Part 2. Welcome back to the EN Network Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Adrian Matt. Normally, I'm joined by my broadcast colleague, Rebel Tea Time. However, he cannot make it here tonight, so it's just going to be me rambling on another certain political commentator. That's the reason why I say it was Part 2, because in the previous broadcast, we actually got the chance to talk about Parker, and now in this one, it's actually going to be about Harry Sisson, as you guys know. And much like Parker, Harry Sisson is a political commentator as well, but you're probably going to be wondering, why did we switch from Parker and now we turned our focus and attention to Harry Sisson? Well, the reason why we're actually talking about Harry, really at the end of the day, they're all the same, right? They're best friends. Parker and Harry are good friends along with Dean and Chris, from what I understand. And the four of them are against Trump supporters, which is fantastic because I'm also against Trump and his supporters. But nonetheless, the point is, though, they have the same attitude, it looks like. However, the reason why Harry is the one that we're talking about here is because I've seen clips. I've seen the clips lingering around online. I got the chance to watch some of the clips of Parker and Chris and Dean. And the thing is, those three don't really have much patience. Now, Harry, he actually stood out. And what I'm saying is, when I actually got the chance to watch some of the debates going on, I noticed that Harry actually had a lot more patience. And not only that, but also he had a lot more kindness to him, right? There were a lot of people that would disagree with him. However, he would actually treat them with respect. The only time he would treat them with disrespect is whenever the guests would obviously badmouth them, which is fantastic for Harry to defend himself, I'm saying. However, there are times now that Harry begins to act up. But I noticed he does not act up when he's alone, but rather he acts up more so whenever he's surrounded by his friends, Dean, Parker, and Chris. And the reason why I say that is because you actually saw the video in the beginning, and I'm going to go ahead and show you another clip from the TikTok this past week. And I'm going to go ahead and show you a snippet of it, and we'll come back and talk about it.
What's a combustion triangle?
Dude, this guy's not.
Are you on this planet right now?
Seriously?
Yeah, I'm on this planet.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Jim, how many corners in a
I'm
triangle?
gonna have to look that up. I think.
But
What's the
it
degree?
totals 180.
Is that acute or obtuse?
Bro. I mean, fuck this, I'm out of here, bro. You'll be all right.
This guest, now, I don't really know much about this guest, right? Obviously, he supports Trump. That's why he's there. However, it seems to me, or at least it seemed to me, that this guest didn't really bully these guys. However, it seemed that this guest, I don't know whether if he was drunk. I don't know if he actually had special needs. I truly think that the man had perhaps something. And whether or not he had special needs doesn't change the fact that he was being bullied. He was being mocked, belittled right in front of an entire platform, a whole wide audience. And Harry, by the way, went from being this pretty respectful voice of reason type to joining with his friends and ends up being the bully himself. And this is why I myself have a problem with this. Because Harry is the guy, you know, the fact of the matter is this, right? I don't understand why Harry claims to stand up against bullying to turn around and do the same thing. Think about that. Now, again, I want you guys to differentiate this because there's probably going to be some people thinking I'm a Trump supporter. I am not. I'm very much a Kamala Harris supporter. I supported Joe Biden through his 4 years of presidency. And I can't believe that tomorrow is the inauguration day, which is going to be fantastic. Well, anyway, nonetheless. But seriously, going back to the topic at hand, I'm not a Trump, I'm not a MAGA, as they say. I'm not a Trump supporter. But I'm still not going to condone anything that Harry and his gang does. And Harry, to me, is supposed to be, as I said before, the voice of reason. He is supposed to be the guy that apparently was the most calming one. Apparently the guy that actually can sit there and try to talk with people and try to make sense out of it, right? It's not like Parker, Dean, and Chris. From what I analyzed, it didn't seem like Harry was like them. It seemed like Harry was more so about, again, being able to understand from his political opponents as opposed to trying to embarrass them. But it's once again with his friends. That's whenever he acts up. And this right here is bad because he has an entire platform, millions of people following him all over the world. Not just that, but also the fact is people watch him on TikTok Live and, well, other platforms as well. And yet he's standing up there and mocking people, including the person that we just showed moments ago. And he's laughing. He's just having a good time mocking the people at his expense, the guest that is. I think his name was Jim. And I sat back and I said, wow, this is incredibly pathetic that we have people like Dean, Parker, Chris, and even Harry who are going to go out of their way to embarrass and humiliate someone for absolutely nothing. And what does this do? This influences people out there to do the same. You know, Harry, Parker, Dean, and Chris, these guys actually love to be vocal about it, that they want to make sure that everyone expresses themselves freely and that everyone's opinions should be heard and that they don't want to divide the country, that Trump, of course, does divide the country, and he does. But they also are actually dividing the country because when they see you guys being able to bully guests like that who don't do anything about it, the audience, they're the young, impressionable youth. They're going to be thinking that's okay, and they replicate that. They duplicate that. But I'm very disappointed because, again, Harry is supposed to be the guy that's a little bit more understanding. Again, after seeing some videos, you can tell that he has patience, right? A lot of the guests do say things that are, uneducated, for lack of a better term. And not just that, but also really just all over the place. Unlike Dean, Chris, and Parker, Harry is able to kind of withstand that and able to still have a conversation, whereas the other three don't really have the patience. They kind of curse them out and whatever the heck, and they throw them out of the live in front of everyone. Harry didn't do that, or doesn't do that, but he only does that with his friends, which again, it's quite pathetic to me that Harry deep down inside has these insecurities, that he has to transform this entire personality, that he has to act up a different way just so he can impress his friends. And again, it was absolutely pathetic. The fact of the matter is, I cannot believe that this is still going on. Right? And this is basically part 2 from the previous podcast. And it's sad to me. It really is sad. You know, Harry talks a big game whenever he's up there with his friends. However, again, the fact of the matter is, I mean, he has all the fans in the entire world that can support him. And how can he ever be sad? You know, I was also reading about the fact that these guys were very much sad about TikTok leaving. And I was sitting there thinking, why are these guys sad? I mean, they're going to, it's not as if all the fans are going to suddenly disappear. All these fans are going to flock over to YouTube or Instagram or whichever platform these guys are going to be on. So, I mean, I don't understand what the whole sadness is all about, right? There are people out there who legitimately do work harder than you guys, and yet they get no recognition whatsoever, which is exactly what this entire thing started with. One of our members commented that it was unfair that Parker himself was basically on Twitch with over 500 views for basically doing nothing on Twitch, and yet there are people like us who work hard and get nothing in return. And that's entirely, that's what basically sparked this entire thing. Then Parker went on to bully our own individual member. We, of course, made a video about it. We got more into it. We were watching more and more clips. I was able to analyze their personalities per se. And again, I was able to see Harry, what he was all about. And it's very disappointing that a guy like Harry, who can really be the voice of reason at times, he's a guy who actually met with President Biden. He's a guy that has done a lot in his political career over the past few years. A guy who actually can indeed be a pretty good symbol of pure, in a way. The problem is, though, he really is the right guy in the right platform at the wrong time, because he has yet to grow up officially. Harry has yet to sustain his emotions. He has yet to control his emotions, to channel those emotions that allow him to go out and bully people in front of a wide audience. And that right there was disgusting to me. It was absolutely pathetic that we actually had to sit there and see this man Jim get bullied in front of everybody, and everybody was making fun of him. The fans obviously were to follow along. Why? Because they support Harry and them. So obviously they probably knew deep down inside it was bad to do it, but no, they want to just follow Harry, and therefore they're going to condone anything. That's what's wrong with this society. They condone their supporters. They condone who they support. That is what's wrong with this entire society. And that's why we're making this video. And Harry, obviously, being the latest, it's just, I don't know, it just disappoints me in a way. It does. You know, we have a guy who I guess, in a way, can be the voice of reason at times, and then all of a sudden he just transforms and just wants to impress his friends and decides to bully people in front of him. Because he knows for a fact, Harry that is, Harry deep down knows that I guess if he doesn't assimilate to their style, then he's probably going to be the odd one out. And that right there is insecurities. Parker, Dean, and Chris, they need to look in the mirror, but more importantly, Harry needs to look in the mirror as well. And he needs to take a look at himself, and he actually needs to do some reflection. Because he needs to dig down deep inside and really question himself. Is this really truly who I am? Is this who I want to exemplify myself as? A man that's just going to sit back and allow my friends to bully people and I'm going to join in and have a laugh? I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. He needs to ask him these questions, or he has to ask himself these questions. Because as he's growing older, these qualities of his are going to get worse, unless if he changes now. And obviously, it would behoove the other three to do the same too. But I don't think it's going to get through them. The only person that could get through it is Harry himself. As I said before, he kind of has the understanding side of things when it comes to him, or he's more so the understanding one. He's more so the guy that is able to listen to his opponents more so than the other three and not necessarily go on a rampage unless his friends are there. The man should be ashamed of himself after what he did over the past week or so, and really many times in the past as well. There were people that actually would badmouth Harry, and Harry had every single right to badmouth them back, but I'm talking about the people who come in there, don't do anything about it, and yet they actually get badmouthed, and usually it's whenever Harry's with his friends, because again, he's trying to impress them. And again, I actually said this in the previous podcast. I said that it was terrible how these guys have so many different fans. These fans are in the wrong spot. We want people out there with a large platform to inspire others to engage in conversations and use critical thinking to the point that you don't have to feel that you will be outed, right? And again, these are people who don't do the bullying itself. If you're a Trump supporter and you're a racist or you're someone who's going to go out there and curse people out and so forth, then of course all bets are off. Go ahead and reciprocate that type of feeling to them. Right? Reciprocate that type of attitude. You're more than welcome to defend yourself. And at times, Harry and them do that, which is good. But the people who don't do that, and the people who actually seem quite nice, who really, really just want to go up there and try to perhaps have a different perspective, always get shunned down. And it's Harry, in my opinion, who out of the four really has the best, and I mean the best personality when it comes to understanding. But the problem is he's getting sucked into that attitude, being influenced by people like Parker, Dean, and Chris, and it's horrible. It's awful. It is the worst. I mean, we should have these fans, really. I would be there informing everybody that it's okay to have different opinions. You know, I mean, sure, if you support Donald Trump, that's completely fine. I'm only going to judge you based on your attitude. If you support Donald Trump and you actually are a very good person, then that's completely fine to me. Donald Trump is not a good person, however. We all know the things he's done. So that's a different story. But when it comes to his supporters, well, sure, I question their support, but it's just all up to their behavior at the end of the day, and I never want to judge someone based on that, whereas these guys do, and it's just absolutely awful, because again, it will actually transform this idea that it's absolutely acceptable and appropriate to do that, which his fans are then going to do, and it's just going to snowball from there. This was not supposed to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we actually were supposed to actually tackle down a couple of different subjects, which we will continue next week. But it's funny because, I mean, from what I understand behind the scenes, apparently, Eon Network got the chance to reach out to Parker and his fans. And it's kind of interesting that a guy with such inflammatory remarks and a guy that is very outspoken in front of a mass majority of audience doesn't even want to take upon this offer that we gave him to really have an interview one-on-one and to explain why he actually did what he did. Why did he bully our member for just stating his opinion? And yet Parker obviously never even gave us a response. His fans are the worst. His fans actually completely just bullied the Eon Network members that, try to get things going with this interview or whatever it was. But whatever the case may be. All I know is that it's awful, and I don't think there's going to be a part 3. I hope there isn't, right? I mean, part 2 wasn't really going to happen until that clip of Jim getting bullied really came out, but it's disappointing. I mean, again, it's politics, right? There's going to be a lot of rivalries and all that stuff, but I mean, why does it have to be that way? Why can't we just transform the idea over the next couple of years and really into the decade that we should really accept each other, and people like Harry have the power to do it, and yet they don't. And why is that? Because psychologically speaking, they just want to be a part of the majority of the group, and they know that if they are different than what their friends are, they know that they're going to be the odd one out. Well, nonetheless, though, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. That was the episode for Eon Network Podcast. I want to thank all of you for taking the chance to actually watch the video. If you actually got the chance to watch it from the beginning all the way to the end, what do you think? If you disagree with my opinion, go ahead and do so in the comment section below. And not just that, but also make sure to comment, like, subscribe, do what you can to get this going. Eon Network Podcast. Seriously, this is a great podcast. But no, seriously, I cannot wait for the next couple of weeks. We're going to have some very, very cool subjects that we're going to be talking about. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be incredible. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you next time.